I did.
I'm glad to know that though.
All right. Well, hi, everybody, people in the Zoom world and people in the YouTube world. I'm super pumped to be on here today. Today, we're going to be talking about one of the things I love the most, which is how to radically change your business in 90 days. So in the EntreMD Business School, we learned how to do this. This is kind of our jam. 4 times a year, we would say Happy New Year because our year is not a 12-month year, it's a 90-day year. And it's amazing the results that have happened. This is one of my favorite times. I think on this particular live, you're going to see me look down a lot because I'm going to look at my phone and just like read off real things that are happening in real places. So one of the fun, we do our quarter in review at the beginning of a new quarter. And one of the docs on there is a doc in private practice, running a multi-million-dollar practice. And over the last 90 days, implemented one strategy and went from having gaps in the schedule to being booked out 2 to 3 weeks. And I was like, oh my goodness, like think about having that in a 90-day period. That is just beyond wild. But
Glad
that's
to know that though.
that's his story, and we're super excited for him. So that's what happens. And for some people, they bring on critical hires. For people, they hit their highest revenue numbers. For other people, they're able to buy their time back. Combinations of all of these. These are posts that are really, really long. Jessica is here, so she knows how long those end up being. But anyway, so I wanted to talk about, how to do that. If we haven't met before, my name is Dr. Una. I am a pediatrician by training. I am the founder of EntreMD. And at EntreMD, we help doctors build profitable businesses so they have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on their terms. And so we've done this through the EntreMD podcast. We've done that through a number of books that we've written. And, where we support doctors the most hands-on is within the EntreMD Business School, which is open for enrollment. And our orientation is tonight, right? Like we are so excited. It's 6 p.m. And we're literally going to start you off with the 90-day sprint plan workshop. You are going to come together. We're going to co-create your goals for the next 90 days, strategic goals, right? Because people set goals and when they accomplish them, they're like, but this is not what I wanted, right? So these are strategic goals. We're going to help you create the roadmap to get there, all the support systems you will need to pull them off, all of that. And that's going to be happening tonight. So tonight is really day one of your best 90 days ever in business. So if you haven't turned in your application, entremd.com/business would be the place to go to. And the team, they've really worked really hard to make sure that they are available to talk with you, to answer any questions you may have. So no question stops you from starting day one. Okay. All right. So let's talk about things here. I love lists. So we're going to talk about 5 things here you do to radically change your business in 90 days. Okay. And these are things that work. These are things that are proven. I have used them for years and years and years. The doctors in the business school, hundreds of them have used them. So this is going to be so great. So the first thing is really to set strategic targets, okay? To set strategic targets. It is fascinating to me that a lot of times people who are running businesses will not set goals. And there are a number of reasons why we wouldn't do that, right? Like sometimes it's, I don't know how to do that. Sometimes it's if I set that and I don't hit it, then I'm going to be so disappointed in myself. Sometimes it's, like I know I'm gonna spiral, like, if I don't hit the goal. Sometimes it's that we actually set goals, but we set goals we don't care about because we don't want to own the real thing. And so I cannot tell you how many times I have talks with doctors, looked at their goals. There are no revenue goals, there are no team goals, there are none of that. There are things like I want to update my website. I want to update my website. I want to review my business plan. I want to look at a new location. I want to change the color of the paint in my office. I want to do another certification. And, you probably are going to do all those things. But if at the end of 90 days, you have a fresh coat of paint, a new certification, and an updated website, like, are you going to throw a party and say that was my best 90 days yet? Probably not, because that's not what you really want. That's not what you really want. Those are not the things that move the needle forward in your business, right? And so The first part really is setting strategic targets, like the quote unquote harder ones you don't want to set. It could be a revenue target. It could be a revenue target that you haven't hit before. So it's a new milestone. You're going to own it. It could be a critical hire that you know that's going to make the biggest difference in your business. But we don't want to set that because that means we have to come up with a job description. We have to put up the ad. We have to talk to people. We have to interview these people. We have to be confident that we'll hire the right person. We have to onboard this person. When we think of all that, we pick the coat of paint. Okay. We're just like, fine, I'll get new paint and I'm going to get a new certification. Right. And so setting, like strategic targets, that's the very first thing. And so that's the reason why with orientation, we're not bringing you to do an orientation of here's your login and these are the things to expect. We're bringing you like right in to help you set those targets. So over the next 90 days, you can create something that will be truly magical. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing, is you want to create the path. You want to create the path. So yes, we want strategic targets, but it's a target, right? It's like the address on a GPS. Like you're still going to have the way to get there, right? And so again, I mean, a lot of people who are extremely excited, they've set the goals, they're excited about them, but there's no defined way for them to get there. There's no pathway. Now, some of them, it may be that so like the example I gave with the hiring, you know what the path is, but it's just too much. So you don't want to do it. So you just don't identify with the path. You're like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen when it needs to happen. Some of the times you don't know what the path is because you haven't done it before. Like you've never done it. You've never learned the skills to pull it off. And so you can't set the path, right? And so if you're going to have a 90-day period, and we can make this concrete, like let's think about the end of Q3. If by September 30th, you're going to say, oh my goodness, I cannot believe what happened in my business in the next 90 days. You're going to say that September 30th. Well, the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to define what that is. Like, what is that? So you set the target. This is where I'm going to be on that day. And oh my goodness, that's going to be amazing. The second thing you need to do is you need to create the path. How am I going to get from where I am to where I need to be, right? Chances are that it would be something very uncomfortable. Chances are it will be something you haven't done before or you haven't done consistently enough. Chances are it will be uncomfortable. Okay. And that's the reason why we don't set it, but we want to set it because there's no way to get there without doing that. Okay. All right. So that's the second thing. So what are we thinking about? September 30th, we're going to look around. We're going to say, oh my goodness, my business is radically different. All right. So number 3, what is the third thing I'm going to do? And this is the one that gets missed the most. This is the one that is probably the hardest to do. Now, notice hardest, it doesn't mean it can be done. We do it all the time. I do it all the time. The people in the business school do it all the time. But it's the one that is like the foundation. When you build a house, they can spend a month building the foundation, but nobody sees that. All they see is there's a hole in the ground. There was a hole in the ground a month ago when you started. There's still a hole in the ground. Like you can't really see it. But if that doesn't happen, nothing else happens. Okay, so number 3 is you have to change. You have to change. If you are going to have a radically different business, you must become a radically different entrepreneur. And so if we set goals, we set targets, we know the way to get there, but we stay the same, nothing's going to change, right? Because this is the truth. The kind of business that you can create, you've already created. And if you're going to create a different kind of business, then you need to be different. And that's it. Like we need to change. And that could be changed in the way we think. So for instance, Dr. Angelise Alexander Martin, she's one of the doctors in the new cohort, the July cohort of the Entrepreneur Business School. And she came on and she made the statement. She said, I always used to think if I wanted something done really well, I had to do it. And within a week has already made that transition where she's like, no, like people can do it. I can get results through people. I can buy the time of other people, bring on their expertise. And that way my impact can be so much larger and I can have more time off. She's like, I'm committed to my dream business and my dream life. So I know this is something that needs to happen. That's an evolution. And she wasn't just saying that. She already had somebody she was interviewing. She had someone she was onboarding. She was going to bring on, like a virtual assistant and all this. She started working the process. I must change. If my business is going to be better, if it's going to be radically different, I must change. The way I think needs to change. My skill set needs to change. For some people, it's not just a change, maybe it's an upgrade. So maybe you already know how to market. You already know how to build the visibility of your brand. You already know how to bring up on a team. But the thing is that the further you go in business, the more you realize I need a different kind of team, a more optimized kind of team, higher capacity team members and all of that. So maybe you're comfortable leading a certain level of team, but now it's time to lead higher. People who can take on bigger responsibilities, people who give you even more of your time back, right? Okay, so we must change. Like I said, this is one of the hardest ones, okay? And this, again, this is so for instance, in the EntreMD Business School, let me talk about that for a second. There's a reason it's structured the way it is, because we haven't hit a critical mass where a physician entrepreneur really understands the way entrepreneurship works, because we're so into the clinical side of things. And so the truth of the matter is, to make that transition, one of the things that makes it easiest is for you to be in a community with people who are doing the same thing, to be in a community of people who are physician entrepreneurs, who are building businesses, who are overcoming the mind drama so they get comfortable talking about money, people who are choosing to dream big, people who are leading teams, people who normalize having time, like physicians having time, taking a vacation a quarter, going to your kids' school to go have lunch with them, taking care of your health, prioritizing your health, refusing to build a business that costs you your health, your family, like just refusing to do that, right? So you can read about it in a book, but it's so foreign to us that we really need to be in a place where it's normal. Like everybody's doing it. Like whatever, everybody's doing this. And that's why we built the community the way it is. The EntreMD Business School has a community of a little over 100 physicians who are doing this, who normalize saying we crossed the 7-figure mark, who normalize saying we crossed the multiple six-figure mark, who normalize saying, oh, I got a manager in and I'm taking 2 weeks off, 3 weeks off, 4 weeks off, who normalize choosing to build a dream life, right? That's the reason why we do that, so that it's easier to change because of the community. That's why we build the accountability, because we all have things we know to do that we don't do. We all have that. Like sometimes people ask me, why are you always, how are you always motivated? I'm not always motivated. I just have a lot of systems of accountability around myself that make me act like I'm motivated. And that's the truth. I'm not always motivated. And so we build that accountability in. For instance, I could tell people, you've read a book, go set your 90-day goals. No, we don't. No, we don't. Every 90 days we come and we do it together, right? Because together it will get done. Doing it on your own, it may not get done. Like it really is as simple as that. That's the reason why we do that, right? Okay, so number one, set the strategic target. Number two, create the roadmap. Number three, change. You got to change. Okay, let me know. I'm talking, but let me know in the chat how many of you are tracking with this. Just let me know. Just say me. Just say me. That's all you have to say. All right, type that in the chat. You're tracking and you're going to do this, because I think for the physician community as a whole, I'm looking forward to September 30th when we can celebrate. We can celebrate like all the changes, all the transformations. Jessica is all in. She's like, yeah, me, right? Who else? You're like, oh my word. Yes, I got it. I'm going to set the strategic, targets. I'm going to create the path. I'm going to change. I'm going to change. Okay. Let me know. Let me know. I am patient, patiently waiting. Patiently waiting. Hi, Dr. Dosumo. Nice to see you. Dr. Swetha, Dr. Reed. Hi, Marla. Okay. All right. So that's number three. Number four. What is the fourth thing I need to do if I want my business to be radically different September 30th, right? The fourth thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to execute until. Setting targets when you finally get to it can be fun. Creating the roadmap when you finally get to it can be fun. Changing, I don't know if I can say it would be fun, but the outcome is a lot of fun. But when it comes to execution, it's like boring. I don't have to work. I don't believe in hustle. I don't, and I'm not talking about hustle and grind and stuff like that, but hard work is required. Massive action is required. Taking action on your strategic path to get to where you're going is a requirement. It's a requirement, right? Like it is required. But the thing is this, if you do it though, the return on investment on it is so big, is so huge. It is such a game changer. But execute until. So everybody has had this moment where, I mean, like we can even use fitness, right? Where you're like, okay, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to do all these things. And you start. My favorite part is watching the people go to Target, go buy all the clothes, go to Lululemon, buy all the things. And they're like, oh my goodness, this is going to be amazing. I know how it's going to go, right? And so they go for the first day and the second day and they post about it and they talk about it. They get all their dopamine hits when people are liking and commenting and all of those things. And after a week, they're like, forget it. Forget it. The gyms love people who sign up for year-long gym memberships because they know, I mean, like the beginning of the year, you won't even make it past the middle of January. Like for most people, they know that. Now, the truth of the matter is, that's the way we are. Like we're always looking for the path of least resistance. We don't want to do all those things. So for me, I knew like you're over 40. Like you need to do strength training. This is a necessity. And I tried. I got the dumbbells, I got the outfits, I got all the weights I needed and everything. I started and stopped and started and stopped and started and stopped a gazillion times over a 3-year period. 3 years. 1, 2, 3, 3 years. No benefit of weightlifting, no benefit of anything, because I just couldn't pull it off. And one day, I had to come to Jesus moment with myself. I'm like, it's been 3 years and nothing's going to change except something changes. Like, stop being silly. And I looked for a trainer. I signed up with a trainer. And guess what? I work out 4 days a week. It's glorious. I went from a person who struggled for 3 years to take action to a person who takes action. I started discovering, even though I did anatomy, I'm like, wow, all these muscles that I have. So I'm finding them. They started showing up. Why? Because I built a system of accountability so I can continue to execute until, right? So what are you going to need to do? You're going to need to execute. And you're not going to execute once. You're going to execute until. You're going to execute until the very end. You're going to execute until you get the result. And in order to do that, you need accountability. Now, you may not, right? Most people do, but you may be the person who doesn't, okay? You may be the person who is like, I know what I want for my business. I set the target, I set the roadmap, and I just hit the ground running. You've already had 2 quarters this year. Q1, January to March, Q2, April to June. So you know if you can pull it off or not. You know that, right? And so the question is this, did you pull it off? Did you take the action? Did you do what you set out to do? Did you do a percentage of it, at least enough to get the result you wanted to get? If not, accountability is required, right? Accountability is required. You might say, okay, Dr. Una, I got it. I got an accountability buddy. That's great. Okay, that's great. Rooting for you. Cannot wait to celebrate you come the end of Q2, come the Q3, right? But this is the deal. Nothing changes until something changes. If you're like, I've like this target, I've meant to hit it, but I've never really set it. I've never really created a roadmap, and I'm definitely not taking the action. I need support. I need accountability. Now, again, that's the reason why we built the school the way we built it, because we know that you need that, right? But execution is required. Massive action is required. It is required. It doesn't matter how good your plans are. It doesn't matter how beautiful your goals are. If you do not have a system to help you stay in momentum so you can execute, it's not going to make a difference. Okay? Actually, it may make a difference. It may make you more frustrated because you know what is possible. We can't touch it because you're not executing. Right? Okay. Number five is move against resistance. Move against resistance. There will always be challenges in business. And this, like, I would love you to take this home with you. There will always be challenges in business. Always, always. It doesn't matter how savvy you are. It doesn't matter whether this is a season for your business or not. It doesn't matter whose collaboration you have. There will always be challenges. This is the nature of the beast. Your entrepreneurship is an obstacle course. Okay. Now you can get really good at running obstacle courses, but it's an obstacle course. So once you recognize that, when you see the obstacles, you're not like thrown off. You're not like, why is this happening to me? Because it has nothing to do with you. It is the nature of the beast, right? Okay. So when we talk about it in the EntreMD Business School, we talk about this concept of going from mountain to valley, mountain to valley. People would like to think entrepreneurship is mountaintop to mountaintop, but it's not. It's mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley. All the while you're making progress, but it's mountain, valley, mountain, valley, mountain, valley, right? Okay. And so if you don't build the tenacity that allows you to continue to function against resistance, continue to function when challenges come, there's going to be a really tough road, right? And so I really want you to think about this, right? We're at the beginning of the third quarter of the year. And if you look at the first quarter and the second quarter, you must have had challenges. You must have had something that was hard to deal with and all of those kind of things. You had that, right? You're going to have that in Q3 and Q4. And this is not me being a prophet of doom. It's just the way things are. So the question is, okay, if I understand that this is what happens anyway, what do I need to do so I can continue to move even in the face of challenges? That may be a support system of sorts. That may be somebody, like a number of people who root for you, a number of people who you can go talk to when things are challenging, because not everybody you can talk to, right? It could be, like maybe even for some people, maybe some kind of therapy, because you're like, when things like this happen, it triggers XYZ, like whatever that is. But you want to prepare for the inevitable. And the inevitable is there'll be challenges. There'll be goals you'll set that you might not hit. There are people you may invest in so much as a team and they may leave. You may have a client that you bent over backwards for, and the person will just up and, and go leave you a 1-star review. Like all kinds of things can happen. All kinds of things can happen. But the question is, am I going to weather that and go through that and still make progress and still win? Right? Because we choose, okay? And some you may not know about. So for instance, when the pandemic hit, there's no way to know how the pandemic would go. Like when we think about it now, it's like hindsight. So we're like, yeah, we know what happened, but think about when it first started. Nobody knew what exactly this COVID thing was. Nobody knew how it would play out. But I had developed this capacity to decide to move against resistance. And I said, you know what? We're going to thrive. This is a COVID, this is a pandemic, private practices are shutting down, people are confused and all that stuff. And I was like, we're going to thrive. It's a decision first. It's a decision first. I'm like, we're going to thrive. I called all my clients. I was like, we are going to thrive. I actually set up a program. Just I don't even think you know about this program. I set up a program called Thrive. Program called Thrive in March of 2020. What was that? I don't even remember what. And I'm like, we're going to thrive. Like, I don't know what this is, but we're going to be okay. Because the EntreMD Business School did not exist at the time. And I was like, guys, like, come on, let's go. And we're going to win. And we won. And we won, right? And so this is the deal. That ability to not fall apart when there's resistance and all of those things, like it's powerful. Because you're going to have some resistance over the next 90 days, but that doesn't mean you won't win. You can still win, right? You can still win. And again, that's the reason why there's a community, and it normalizes the challenges of entrepreneurship. Yeah, so a team member left. Oh yeah, someone left your 1-star review. Yeah. Like, and it doesn't mean we don't respond to it, but we don't fall apart. We don't think something's wrong. We don't shrivel and hide. We understand this is part of the journey, right? So what are the things I need to do? You're like, I want to make the next 90 days my best 90 days. And you know what? Let me do this real quick. I think this is important because sometimes it's like, yeah, best 90 days. I want to read some stuff for you here. So I'm just pulling this up. I'm going to the Facebook group for the business school, and I'm just going to show you some stuff here. Okay. And just think about this is 90 days. You get 4 90-day blocks a year. Like, just imagine if you could do things like this in your own business over the next 90 days. Okay, So this person is somebody who owns a practice, and owns a practice and wants to build out, thought leadership. Like, I want to monetize my personal brand. And so over the last 90 days, she, let's see what she did. She got featured on the news multiple times. She got cited in the media multiple times. She got to be a guest on more than 10 podcasts in the last 90 days. Started getting paid to blog on a particular site. Got her first is working on getting her first podcast spot, her first paid speaking gig, and got over $50,000 on her podcast in 90 days. In 90 days. Now, remember, this is not her primary business. Like, she has a private practice. This is like, I'm branching out, I want to build this other thing, right? But that happened in 90 days. This other person, Q2 of this year compared to Q2 of last year, was 30% higher. 30% higher. And she hired new roles. She actually had a whole event that her business did, a whole event that she just attended because her team did it. There are 200 people in attendance. Her team pulled off the event. If you can imagine that, like, absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. I'm literally just scrolling and looking through the group. Someone over here runs a cash-based practice and is like, oh, I didn't hit my goal, but I had my first $20,000 week though, and I'm like, I'm not mad at you or your $20,000 week at all. At all. And this person has been in practice for either 2 years or less than, actually, I don't think she's 2 years yet. She's not yet 2 years in practice, right? Someone else was celebrating, I mean, like 90 days. Somebody else, like, I hired a nurse practitioner, and I had like a whole project that my business had to work on, and my team took care of it. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Right? So this is the deal. This is the deal. A lot can change in 90 days, right? Okay. So what do we need to do? Set strategic targets. We need to create the path. We need to change. We need to change. We 1000% need to change. We need to execute until. We need to take action until. These people, they take action day in, day out. They're doing the things, and they're doing it in community, right? Like, so everybody's holding everybody accountable, and move against resistance, because life will happen, business will happen, things will happen, but we need to keep moving. That's really what entrepreneurs do, right? So these things have the capacity to really create a massive, massive transformation in your life, in your business. And I want to challenge you, like, embrace it, do it. Like, whether you join the school or not, embrace it, do it. Let us know September 30th. Oh my goodness, this is what happened, right? But if you're like, okay, I really want to do this. I see how this can make a difference for me. And I want the support. I want the mentorship. I want the community. I want the accountability. Then come at least turn in your application for the EntreMD Business School. Okay, so entremd.com/business. The team will be happy to answer any questions you may have, because what we want is for you to say, absolutely, I need to do this, or absolutely not, I don't need to do this, right? You can turn in your application. But the truth of the matter is, this will be a game changer for you. This will not leave you the same. We thought about it, right? So the mentorship we have, there's a reason we have it. The community we have, there's a reason. The accountability systems we have, there's a reason we built them, okay? And orientation starts tonight. Orientation starts at 6 p.m. We are going to have the 90-day sprint plan workshop. It is a 2-hour workshop, and you're going to be there with the rest of your classmates. I cannot wait to introduce you to your classmates, because they're so amazing. They're absolute unicorns. But they're going to be there, and then together you're going to create, like, instead of allowing the next 90 days happen to you, you're going to happen to it. You're going to decide where you want to be at the end of 90 days. You're going to decide. You're going to create your custom roadmap, how you're going to get there. You're going to piece together, like, we've put the systems together, but you're going to piece it together for yourself. Like, this is the way I'm going to engage with the support system that's here, so I can stay in motion, I can stay in momentum, right? For the next 90 days, and who knows where it could be. You can literally have your best 90 days in business ever. And it all starts tonight at 6 p.m. Okay. So again, we talked about this a lot during EntreMD Live, and we said you want to get to a place where you say yes or no. But being undecided is a form of self-abuse. I want you to think about it, right? Like you have one life, you're a whole physician, you have a business, or you have the business you're about to set up, and you don't want to be undecided. You don't want to say, yeah, let's see, because we're burning daylight. Like every day we're getting older. Every day we're getting closer to the end of 2024. There are goals that you set, all of that. So we really want you to get to a place where you can say, you know what? I've looked at the business school and what it offers and all of this stuff. I've asked my questions and all. This is not this is not something for me. Like I know that I know that I know, right? That this is not for me. Or you come to a place where you're like, oh my goodness, like this is the kind of support I need. This is the kind of mentorship that I need. This is the kind of community I need to be in. This is the kind of network I need to be in. Because I mean, like, if you think about it, 100 physician entrepreneurs, they say that your network is your net worth. Like, just by joining the school, like, you probably 10x your net worth. But anyway, I digress. So that's, that's the community that you're like, I want this. I want the evolution that happens here. I want the transformation that happens here. I want to have all these people as a resource that I can reach out to and ask questions and all of that stuff. I want to have the mentorship. Like, I want that. So you're like, yes or no? Like, absolutely yes, absolutely not. Well, we don't want you to be undecided because nothing gets better in indecision. Nothing gets better in decision, right? We have to decide. So if you have questions, we're happy to answer those questions. It all starts out by, turning in your application. Dr. Dosuma says the community is priceless. Dr. Dosuma is a veteran entrepreneur. I dare say serial entrepreneur, right, Dr. Dosuma? And one of the alumni of the EntreMD Business School. She's a total rock star. She made a statement, Dr. Dosuma, I still quote you. She says, a practice worth selling is a practice worth keeping, right? And we build in EntreMD, we build businesses that we can sell from the get-go. Like that's the model we use. Why? We don't want you to be a slave to your business, right? Okay, so if you have questions, we're happy to answer those. I'm just gonna take a moment to answer the comments ones that keep coming up. And Jessica, you can let me know if I miss any of them. But a lot of times people are like, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do anything else. I'm so burnt out. There are many entrepreneurs who say, I'm drowning in my business. I don't have time to work on my business because of all the things I need to do in the business. And you see, that's not a problem that we're going to say, oh, go fix that and then come back, right? Because there are things that if you knew, it wouldn't be a problem, right? We see that as the reason why you should join the school, because we show you how to function by a CEO calendar. We show you how to find out what are your most strategic actions and the things that are just a waste of time. We show you how to delegate. We show you all of those things. So you end up putting yourself in a position where you start accomplishing more by doing less, and you're doing higher level things, and you're doing things that are your zone of genius, right? So if you're thinking, I'm drowning, we fix that problem. Like that's what we do. So it's not a reason to stay away, it's a reason to come in. Some other people will say, like, I don't know if this is the right time. And please don't misunderstand me when I tell you the answer I'm going to tell you. This is not fear mongering. This is not me saying, like, this is not some hard sales tactics. But the truth of the matter is the best time, you're right, this is not the right time. The right time would have been a few years ago. Okay, because healthcare has changed so much. The narrative for physicians has changed so much that we cannot afford to not do anything. Things are not going to get better. The insurance companies are not gonna, of their own free will, decide, oh my goodness, when the cost of living is going up and the cost of service delivery is going up, we reduce the reimbursement. Like, we feel bad. Now we're going to pay you more. Like, that is never going to happen. That is not going to happen. Like, things are not going to get better. We are going to get better. And then so we create better for ourselves. And so if you're thinking, I don't know if this is the right time, the truth of the matter is nothing changes until nothing changes. This is the time. Like, these are really, they can be very difficult times for physicians. You saw me hesitate because we are having a different experience in the EntreMD Business School. Like, we have an alternate reality. We are creating what we want, right? Some other people will say, oh, it's the investment. I don't know if I can make that investment. People will say that. And, the truth of the matter, again, I don't know. Jessica, I'm trying to be politically correct here. So we may edit some stuff. I don't know. I'm kidding. But this is the deal. It's not the ultra successful focus on the value compared to the investment. Like the investment on its own doesn't mean anything. For instance, if you're a car person and I gave you a brand new 2025 Ferrari and I said, but you have to pay 30,000 for it, you're like, just hold on, stay right there, don't move, right? And you will go figure out how to get 30,000. Why? Because the return on the investment is ginormous. Even if you don't care about fast cars, you know the value. So that means you can say, I'm gonna pay 30,000 for that, and I'm gonna turn around, I'm gonna sell that stuff for $350,000. Like right? So in the same way, if you look at the number by itself, you can say, okay, yeah, compare it to, I don't know what you compare it to, like this is a lot. But when you compare it to the ROI, and we talked about it, what is the return on investment for the EntreIndy Business School? The return on the investment for the EntreIndy Business School is 1, is the revenue you create. 2, is that you get your time back. 3, is that you massively, exponentially increase the impact that you have as a physician, as an entrepreneur. 4 is that, you get to evolve, you get to become a physician entrepreneur. Nobody is born a physician entrepreneur. We're physicians, we train to become that. We're going to train to become physician entrepreneurs, right? So you become that, you become the person who can build profitable businesses. You become the person who can run multiple businesses. You become the person who can lead a team. You become the person who can buy back their time. You evolve. And when you change, everything changes, right? The 5th ROI you get is all the personal wins. We've had so many people talk about how their marriages are better, their relationship with their kids are better, their health is better, right? They're at such peace. They acquired a family they didn't know they needed, right? The things that they're doing as entrepreneurs are rubbing off on their kids. We have so many, we call them EBS Junior, okay? We have so many kids who come on the calls. We have, parents who now have kids who have started podcasts, who have started businesses, started YouTube channels, all kinds of crazy stuff. So are you going to get an ROI? Absolutely. Right? Are you going to get an ROI that is so much bigger than whatever your investment is? Yes. Yes. And we show you how to do that. We show you how to get the best out of the school. So the investment is not a thing. It's a thing if you don't compare it with the ROI, right? Compared to the ROI, it's nothing. Now, having said that, am I saying like you should look at your books or whatever? I'm not saying that, but I'm telling you, this is the way the ultra successful think about it. And truthfully, if you're like, I really want to do this, the financing is a problem. We do have financing options. When you turn your application, the team will be happy to walk you through that, talk you through all of those things. Okay. So I think those are the most common questions. There is, but I don't know if this will work for me. And I really wish this was an in-person event we were doing. So I'd come up, I'd walk up, I'd hug you. And I say, yes, it will. It will work for you. Because this is the deal. We have a roadmap that works, and it has worked for hundreds of physicians, right? We know who it works for. And we will tell you, this is what you do, so it works for you. Number 1, you're committed to your goals. Number 2, you're coachable. Number 3, when things seem like they're tough and you feel like you're not getting the results you thought you'd get, you reach out and say, hey, I'm having a little struggle here. Can somebody walk me through XYZ? You stay in conversation. 4, you take action. And we don't need it to be perfect. There's no perfection checklist or anything like that. We need you to show up and give it your absolute best shot. Right? It could be messy. It could be uncomfortable. You can be unsure, but we need you taking action. And if you will do that, it will work, right? And then the 5th thing we need from you is to lean into the community. The community is liquid gold. The community, we call it the EBS Commonwealth because of how much expertise, experience, connections that are within it. And if you lean in and show up in the community and ask for help when you need it, and ask for connections when you need it, and all of those things. I mean, it's so much more than just having one mentor. It's like having a mentor, having a bunch of vision boards, having a bunch of connections and all of these things. You lean into the community, you will win. Well, we've had people, we have people working on their personal brand. We have people who are private practice, people who are direct primary care, direct specialty care, speakers, event hosts, consultants, like all these kind of businesses, and they are thriving. We notice it's not the type of business, it's not the stage of business, is do they have those 5 traits? And those are traits you can acquire. Like if you were not committed to your goals, you can get committed right now. If you are not coachable, you can say, you know what? From today, I'm coachable. Like these are decisions. I'm going to take action. I'm going to stay in conversation. I'm going to lean into the community. Because a lot of times as physicians, we like the solo thing, you know, stay in our silos and all of that. But that's not what the ultra successful do, right? I listened to an interview by somebody who is a millionaire who was interviewing a billionaire. And he said, what is the difference? What is the difference between millionaires and billionaires? And he said, millionaires focus on ideas and implementation. Billionaires focus on collaboration. And I said, we're going to focus on ideas and implementation as you build your million and multi-million dollar businesses, but we're going to introduce some billionaire habits. Okay, we don't need to wait. We're going to collaborate. So the community is there. The opportunities to collaborate are there. We've had people who are like, oh, I got a speaking gig. I can't do anything with it. You know, who wants it? I have these new clients, but I closed my panel. Who wants them? Like things like that are happening. Someone says, oh, I'm looking for this kind of person. Like, oh yeah, my uncle's cousin is married to the auntie of the person who does that. And you're like, okay, let's go. Right? Like it's such a rich room. It's such a rich room. And if you lean in, this will work. So if you're wondering, I don't know if this will work for me, I am telling you, it has worked for so many people just like you. And we have studied so much over the last 4 years to say, who does this actually work for? Who always crushes it? These are the 5 traits they have, 5 traits you can have. And we're committed 1,000%. We will show up. We will deliver. We will support you. We will edit the program as much as we need to make sure you're getting results faster, easier, better. Anybody who's been in the school, hi, Makita. See, when you fill out your application, that's who you talk to. She's amazing. Okay. So if somebody joined the school 90 days ago, they can tell you the version of the school they're in now is different because it's not a static, here are your 5 classes, go take them and go get a certificate. That's not what we do. We're building a container. We've built a container that helps physicians thrive. We've built a container that helps physicians become physician entrepreneurs who can build businesses that are not only profitable, but are built as assets that if they wanted to walk away from, they could. They build their dream businesses, they build their dream lives. Now, is it a process to do it? Yes, like everything else, but it's a process that works. And guess what? The time is going to come and the time is going to go no matter what we do. So we might as well get to the end of 90 days and imagine doing 4 cycles of this. Imagine doing 16 cycles of intentional 90-day sprints. Think about it. And you might say, that is wild. Yeah, but we have people in the school who've done it. So Dr. Kaufman has been in the school for 4 years at this point. Dr. Tolu has been there for 4. We have a number of people who've been in the school. Like this is the beginning of their 5th year. And they have built businesses that just don't make any sense. Dr. Tolu has grown her panel to 7,000 patients. Her practice is about to turn 3. I think it's about to turn 3. I don't remember. About to turn 3. And she already has her a nurse practitioner, 2 nurse practitioners about to hire a doctor, and they're full. Dr. Karen was sharing her story, and she's like, she started her practice in 2021. And she's hired a nurse practitioner. She's hired a part-time nurse practitioner, part-time physician, hired a doc who's going to start, this fall. And is moving to another location. She said, I did not think in 3.5 years I would be having this problem, but she has it, right? It's a great problem, but she has it. Same thing with people who are coaches, the whole 9 yards. So this is the deal. The 90-day sprint works. EBS works. And if you're like, Dr. Una, I got it. Like I'm on a roll. I came here. I'm so grateful for the information you shared and these strategies. I'm going to go apply them. I'm happy for you. Because I'm here to serve all physicians. Like my goal is 100,000 physicians, okay? So I'm here to serve physicians one way or another. So go rock it, go kill it. When we get to September 30th, send me a DM, say, Dr. Uda, you will not believe what happened. And I'll tell you, of course I will. What happened, right? And I'll celebrate you. But if you're here, you can be honest with yourself and you're like, look, Dr. Uda, I'm doing this thing. Some of you may even be like, my business is established, we're killing it. but I'm drowning. I'm drowning. Like, I can't figure out this team thing. I can't figure out how to get my time back. You've already done 2 sprints. We've already completed 2 sprints in 2024. And if you're like, it's not working, come put yourself in a container that will help you work it. And if you're here and you're like, I've set goals. In fact, the goals I've set for my business are the same goals I set last year, the same goals I set the year before, and I don't think I crushed it. In fact, I got to a point where I started reducing my goals. Then it's just, there's nothing wrong. It's just a sign you need to be in a different container. So turn in your application, ontrendy.com/business. Your orientation starts tonight. Like literally, this is the beginning of your 90-day sprint. And September 30th, we're going to be like, whoa, what? Right? So I'll leave you with this. I was watching a documentary on sprinters, right? 100 meters, 200 meters. And it's very fascinating when you look at world-class people, which, you know, I want you to think about yourself as an elite physician entrepreneur. When you look at world-class people, when they find they're not performing at what they think is their potential, they find a container and they put themselves in their container. They don't say, I'm going to work harder. They don't say, I'm going to try harder. They don't say that. They're like, where is the container where people like me go to thrive? Where is the coaching agency? Where is the coaching studio? Where do I need to be to thrive? And so you've done a lot. And if you're like, but the lot is not getting me where I need to be, I want to invite you to act like the world-class athletes, because you're an elite physician entrepreneur, and put yourself in the right container. Okay. So turn your application. I look forward to see you guys tonight. Our 90-day sprint plan workshop is going to be absolutely amazing. And I cannot wait for us to jumpstart this and then to celebrate, because we're going to work together all the way till September. And I cannot wait to see what we co-create. Okay. So rooting for you as always. Turn your application. If you have questions, it's okay. Turn your application. Makita's here for you. Okay. She has answers for your questions. And we'll see you tonight. The beginning of, wow, a lot of stuff. It's going to be amazing. Okay. All right. Rooting for you. See you guys. Thank you for coming to join us. See you at 6 o'clock.